All right. What's going on, everybody? We are just here with Nate Bailey here today. He's our executive mindset coach for Replace Your Mindset, which is a subset, of course, of Replace Your University. So just wanted to give a nice introduction, help you guys understand exactly who Nate is, a little bit more about his background, his history, as well as kind of what his plans are for Replace Your Mindset and hopefully helping y'all out. So first of all, Nate, why don't you give us just a quick, elevator pitch, a little bit of background of who you are, where you came from, and why you do what you do today.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to go back quite a ways when I answer this question. I remember, I don't know if you remember as a kid, like in elementary school or middle school, even into high school, you get the announcement like to go down to the auditorium, and there was a speaker in this school, right? And so you got out of class first of all.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Winner.
I was like, oh man, bonus day. And they would never tell us about it anyways. It was always kind of a surprise. But
Right.
I just remember these people that would come through, and like that's what they did. They spoke and they told their stories and they inspired and they motivated people. And I remember pretty much every one of them that ever came through, right? And so, I think in the back of my mind, I was like, man, that would be pretty awesome to do that, right? And so then you kind of fast forward. I've always gravitated towards leadership positions, whether it was in high school athletics, even played college football, became an officer in the Army, multiple businesses as an entrepreneur, coached high school and college athletics, right? So I've been an athlete myself, done Ironmans and extreme endurance type stuff. Did a 52-hour event called SEAL Fit Kokoro, which was led by active and retired Navy SEALs for 52 hours straight. We went through, and very few of us actually made it through that. I was one of those.
You
that
made
was
it?
able to make it through it, class 45.
Congrats.
And run 100 miles a couple different times. I failed along the way. I've had bumps and bruises, and I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about the mindset that it takes to really create the life that you want, which really kind of brings me to what I do as the executive mindset coach, and helping people take their life to that level that they want to get to inside of, not just business, but at home, inside the relationships. How do they take care of their body so that they have the energy and the drive, the focus to be successful in all areas of life? And so that here I am. I've been on a deployment. I've had a lot of different life experiences that have allowed me to do what I do today, and helping people inside of the mindset that they need to go out and live the life that they want, how to lead themselves and lead others, and be successful.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, for me, I'm just going to talk about me directly here. So I grew up in athletics. I did all the stuff, during football. Like the thing that I hated most about football was conditioning.
Oh yeah, right.
It was the running.
It
is the worst part, right? It's like, I love football. I love hitting people. I love getting out there, running the ball, throwing the ball. But God, why do we got to do ladders? I mean, I don't understand.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so, I personally have always struggled with the cardio side of things. Just, it's not necessarily that I can't do it. Yeah. It's annoying. Right. Yeah. And you like to be good at stuff. And just to tell you a quick story one time. So, when I go to the gym, I go to the gym about 5 days a week. Right. And I put in probably about 45 minutes to an hour in the gym when I'm there. And I would say maybe the first 15 minutes is, I go out, I run a nice cool mile, get stretched out a little bit, get warmed up. And then I'll, do more anaerobic stuff, keeping the heart rate up, whatever. Yeah. Well, all that to say, people, they look at me, I look decently athletic, things like that. And so they just assume that I can just like keep running. Yeah. And I suck at cardio, right? Like I am terrible. Yeah. So my wife, thought it was a great idea one time that we were having like this, Thanksgiving Day, they do these 5Ks, the turkey trots. Yeah. So we did this, like, she's like, oh, I signed you up for the turkey trot. I'm like, that's a terrible idea. What do I get? Like, what is the point? Right. And I was just struggling with it. So it was initially gonna be me and her, and then my nephew, who's not athletic. He never played sports in his life, but he's got that mindset. You know, he's just like whatever he does set his mind to, he's just excels at it because he just hates the idea of not winning, right? And so even though he didn't play sports, he just always wants to be good. So this kid shows up. My wife, she's like, we got to train. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to figure it out when we get there. Like, I don't want to train. I don't care about my time. I just want to get from the starting point to the ending point and get my, my little turkey, award thing that they give. So she's like, no, we need to do this. And in the meantime, I've been running on the treadmill. I use a treadmill all the time. Well, it's different when you run on a road.
Much different.
Than a treadmill, right? It's very different. So, man, I get out there, we're in our neighborhood, and we're running. And I just remember I was so frustrated because my nephew, who granted is about 10 years younger than me, he's just smoking me. My wife is smoking me. My wife can run. My wife, she could just run for days. And man, I'm just getting burnt. And I'm like so pissed. And we get to the end of the neighborhood, and I had never tracked it off as far as how long it was. I could have sworn we were 3 miles in.
Yeah.
I'm like, how far are we away? She's like, well, we just finished a mile. I'm like, what? Yes. I was losing my absolute mind. So literally halfway back, I'm literally cussing. I'm cussing out loud. I'm just mad. And she's like, well, if you want to do this, then you have to keep up. And I'm just like, I don't take my name off the list. I don't have to do this. I will wait at the finish line. Right.
I'll have bananas and water for you.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be the cheerleader here. Like you were my cheerleader for years. I'll be yours here. You do this. I don't need to do this. Well, I got back home. I was really pissed off. And it basically what it came down to was I was upset because I wasn't up to snuff. I wasn't happy with the results. Now, if I went out there and, ran a 22-minute, 5K, I would have been like, yeah, I'd love to do this. This is great, no matter how hard it was. So the funny story about that, though, is I just got frustrated with it. I was more upset with the losing result, and that made me, that kind of caught me, on fire, if you will. So I literally didn't train up to that point because I was just so mad. And it was about 2 weeks. We get there that morning, and dude, I was just like, I am going to make an example of my nephew. So I'll tell you, we ended up finishing, he finished a little bit ahead of me. I will say that. Yeah. So he did, but I just had this mindset, and those hills, man, I don't know if you guys have ever been, have you ever ran in Nashville?
No, not really.
The Nashville Marathon is one of the hardest marathons.
Is it hilly around here?
Because it's unbelievably hilly, which you would never know. But if you go to downtown Nashville ever, it's just constant hills. Okay. So we were on the country. We weren't in downtown Nashville, but there was just these massive sweeping hills on this road. Yeah. And so it ruined me a little bit, but I ran I think it was like a 28-minute, 5K, which is nothing to go home about. But for me, I was proud of myself, and it got me into a place where, it's just a good accomplishment, right? Like even so, like I hadn't, ran competitively ever in my life. I always played baseball. And so I never ran track, and, cross country was not an option. Like that was not happening. Right. So anyways, all that to say, I got through that, and I learned a lot about myself through that. And it was sometimes through those trials, right? It's through those hard times that you've had in your life. And there's obviously that's a pretty insignificant one. But it was a wake-up call for me, right? Yeah. And so I guess my question to you is, was there ever a wake-up call for you? Was there ever a moment like, man, I need to get my mindset right first? Because a lot of people coming into a coaching place, like what we do at 3Place Your Mortgage, we all have our stories of we were mortgage brokers, peddling mortgages, using mortgages until we figured this out, and we're like, oh my gosh, and we had this aha moment. Yeah. Was there an aha moment for you in this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Where things really changed for me was the Seal Fit Kokoro event, because it was really kind of the first time in a long time where I set out for a pretty big goal, right? When I signed up, I was like 275, 280. I'm 6'3", but like was kind of fat and out of shape. Like, I mean, I was strong because I was into like Olympic weightlifting, but that just gave me the excuse to also kind of get fat, right? Right. And to do this seal fit Kokoro, a 52-hour event, no sleep, like getting, yelled at by Navy SEALs and really kind of being put through the ringer, I knew there was no way I could show up at 275. I wouldn't even be giving myself a chance to finish, right? So, and there were certain physical standards that you have to pass in the first 12 hours in order to even just be able to continue to see if you can have what it takes to finish, right? Because if you don't pass the physical standards, they send you home. And a lot of people did get sent home because they weren't prepared. So it put me on this journey of like, all right, who do I have to become? Like, which was a huge question. And then, when you're talking mindset, there's also this other voice that's asking you a different question, like, who do you think you are? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, who the heck do you think you are to go do this? Like, you're out of shape. You weigh way too much. Like, there's no, I was 40 years old. Most of the guys and gals at this thing were, mid-20s, right?
Yeah.
Some of them want to be SEALs, actual legit SEALs, who are going through this to prepare them for that. And so who do I have to become? And just start to answer that question. Who do I think I really need to show up as to be successful? And so I lost 45 pounds in 6 months. I ran a half marathon, which I had done an Ironman. So I did SEAL Fit Kokoro in 2016. I did an Ironman in 2008. And really that's, you run a marathon and, I walked a marathon and then the Ironman. Didn't show up super prepared for that, but really that was the furthest I had ever gone. And I hadn't done anything close to that leading up to this Kokoro event. And so, that was a moment where I did the work. I really followed through, did what I said I was going to. I ignored that other voice. It was like trying to keep me complacent and like ask, who do you think you are? What do you think you're doing? Right? We all struggle with that, and it keeps a lot of us from doing the things that we
it's
really
constantly giving us excuses.
Yeah,
it's just always excuses.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. You've probably heard the term the monkey brain, right? Trying to keep us safe and trying to keep us comfortable. But you hear it all the time, right? Complacency, comfort kills, and it really does. It's just kind of a slow dying drip that you don't really notice until it's way too late, and then it shows up as regret, right?
Right,
man, and you can never get that time back. So I guess that was a big pivotal moment for me to do that, to show up, to become the person that I thought I needed to become.
Yeah.
And it really was a catalyst for me to continue down that path and that journey. And it was really the start of me building just a championship mindset.
Yeah. That's a big thing. I mean, I know, again, I grew up in athletics and played a small stint of college baseball, D1 college baseball. And in that, I started to really see, and especially in the transition from high school to college, was all of a sudden these guys called sports psychologists started showing up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck are these guys doing? And it's like, eventually it does get to a point where there's a massive amount of pressure on all of us. And that's not just in sports, but in life, if you're a husband, you want to perform as a good husband, right? You want to be great to your spouse. And as a father, like me and you both are, you want to be the absolute best dad for your children, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this pressure, and then you also have to perform in your business. Mm-hmm. We're all entrepreneurs here, and we, to do that and to juggle that, your family, all the hobbies that you want to do. Yeah. I love golf. I haven't been out on the course in 3 weeks because we've been shooting stuff in here and doing all kinds of stuff. And so to juggle that, but still perform at a high level, it can get to be a lot of pressure. And I think a lot of people nowadays, we see massive spikes in anxiety and massive spikes in depression, and, suicide rates are up, and COVID hasn't helped that with all the isolation and stuff. So, I guess like my thing with it is we got to take care of our minds, man. We really do. And everything we do here at Replace Your Mortgage and Replace Your University, ultimately, it all filters through the proper mindset.
Yeah.
Because one of the hardest things that we have to deal with, and we were talking about this at lunch today in the Replace Your Mortgage world, is it's too good to be true.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just addition subtraction, but even when they see the addition subtraction, it's just like, no, I'm going to stick with a 30-year mortgage because it doesn't seem right that I could pay off my house in 7 years. And that's a mindset issue. It's
Yeah.
the facts are there, the data's there, it clearly explains it, but they can't get over the mindset. And all of this kind of circles back to the fact that we need to be tougher. And you know, the mindset has to be a little bit more resilient than what we are. Because you're gonna get knocked down, you're gonna get beat up, right? But it's, you know, yeah, it's like, as Rocky said, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's how you get back
Yeah,
up, you know?
exactly.
And
Right.
so that's the idea here. But what have you seen you know, obviously you've worked with hundreds of different people. You've been a coach for them, helping them reach their fullest in potential. What has been your experience as to some of the biggest hangups, fears that people have, or, you know, tough things that people are going through, that once they break through that, they really can accelerate into full success and their potential?
Yeah, it's you know, mindset really is it's like a muscle, right? Like you have to exercise and really put yourself in difficult, uncomfortable situations, right? You got to do hard things to create this mindset that will allow you to fight through all of that, right? The fear, the anxiety, the people on the outside telling you like, you know, what the heck are you doing? Why are you doing this, right? Because they see you growing and they see you going after the things that you want when they would want to do that, but they can't get it themselves to do that. So instead of encouraging you, they're like trying to hold you
Mm-hmm.
back to like make themselves feel better, right? So we got all of these different things coming at us from, you know, from within, from without, from the outside. And you know, the only way to really to battle that and to get through that is to move forward, right? To
Mm-hmm.
take a step to put yourself in a difficult situation, right? That if, using Kokoro, because we've already talked about this, is, you know, the first step was just to sign up, and that was difficult. That was hard, right? You put it in the cart, and then you enter your info, and now it's time to like click submit. And a lot of people will get to that point where everything's in the cart and they never click submit. Like they don't even like you, it has nothing. They don't even, the event's 6 months away, right?
Right.
They can't even get themselves to click submit and commit to the event. And then you commit to the event, and now it's real. Now I got to actually go and do the work. And now
Mm-hmm.
there's all this resistance, right? So it's just taking those little steps every single day. Um, you know, it really is. There are a lot of clients that I've worked with where, man, they have all of the talent in the world. It's not a lack of knowledge. It's not a lack of skill set, but it's mindset. One little thing can throw them for a loop,
Mm-hmm.
and they will literally just retreat kind of back to their lowest level of training, right? They'll just kind of go back to where they were, and they kind of allow, and they let go of their dreams, right? We see so many people that get through life, and it's just, it's a regret because they didn't have the mindset to push through, right? To get to, you know, pleasure, the thing that we really want, we got to go through some pain to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so how can you get yourself to recognize that pain or that discomfort is actually a good thing, right? Like when you get to that place, when most people will start to back off, how can you get yourself to get to that point, and then when you feel it, like get excited and push through it,
Yeah.
because you know that, like, we do this experience at one of my live events called Unleash the Leader Within, where it's an aero break. And Dave Albin used to work for Tony Robbins and led all of his fire walks and aero breaks and things like this. And he says the most painful point is when you lean into that arrow, and it feels like it's almost going to break the skin, right? And so what people do is they'll back off from that, and that's the moment where there's that pain. And when you push into it, right, that's as hard as that's as great as the pressure gets.
Mm-hmm.
And then the arrow bends and breaks, right? And so it's leaning into that until you feel that pain, and then knowing that, like, that's your cue to just keep going, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a good metaphor for life, for all of us, is when you feel a little bit of discomfort, when you feel a little bit of pain, you just know you're in the right place, right?
Yeah.
And that's a sign to like just keep going.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you put an arrow right here.
Yes.
You push up. I mean, I love how you just say that so nonchalantly. Yeah, we actually just put this arrow on our throat and we just keep pushing until it breaks.
So what you do is you put one end on the wall and then the pointy tip on your, like right here, basically, right? And that's kind of that soft part of your neck.
Yeah. No, I'm aware.
The most vulnerable part of your neck, right? Yeah.
Not the sternum.
Yeah, the soft tissuey part.
Holy cow.
And yeah, it's incredible to see some people that get to that point, and when they finally are able to step through it, the breakthrough that they have.
Yeah.
And to carry that over, right, into their life. Man, where else am I trying to back away from the pain, where if I just would push through, you realize that like that pain goes away. And
you see that a lot with like trauma victims.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like I've done some different, I've walked with a couple men and stuff and different people that have gone through some trauma.
Yep.
And, you know, that is the hesitation. A lot of people get to that pain point and then they go in search of things like drugs or alcohol or other things just to make it go away.
Yeah.
Rather than if they could just break through that, there's freedom on the other side, you know? Well, that's cool, man. Well, so I guess this would be a good shameless plug time for saying that, if you guys were to sign up for Replace Your Mindset, you get access to things like the live events that he's talking about, these experiences where you can actually try to put an arrow on your throat and snap it in half. It'll be a great time.
It's awesome. Trust me.
Yeah. So and there is a lot of other stuff you guys do at those events, and that is one of the cool things with being partnered, with you is we get a chance to do that. So for those of you who don't know, Michael, our founder, myself, Edmund, Matt, some of our leadership team, we actually are planning to do that experience with you, the whole thing in December, right? It's December.
Yeah. And I just, unfortunately, I just let the cat out of the bag on that one.
That's okay. That's okay.
I
won't. I'll just have nightmares leading up to it now.
Right.
Forward. No, I'm sure that there's plenty more.
Yeah.
No, we're excited for that. Really excited. No, we're excited. But let's just talk about that for a second. So as part of becoming a client of Replace Your Mindset, right? I think it's really important that with Replace Your University, we've always had this motto that says, that we don't bring on customers, right? We bring on clients. We bring on somebody who we're going to not just, it's not going to be transactional in nature. Right. It's going to be like, hey, you're going to come on board and now we're going to walk with you. We're going to partner with you. This is going to be something we do together. So tell us a little bit about what you plan to do within the Replace Your Mindset group and within, the people that trust you to come on and let you take them by the hand and show them how to be their best. Oh my gosh, I'm stuttering. Be their best selves.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons that I do what I do is because of the relationships that I get to build with the clients themselves and really get to know them, really get to be a part of their world and help them to get on that path, right? It's like I've seen a good number of coaches out there that will take a lot of credit for their clients' results, and it's always kind of been a pet peeve of mine because I like to look at it more as like a catalyst to helping them go create the results for themselves. Because the reality is I can't do the work for anyone else, but what we can do is give you the access and the coaching from the experiences that I've had, from the things that I put myself through, so that I have created this mindset that I have to go on and help others do the same. Because when they come and we're in conversations or they're in the group and they're talking about something that they're struggling with, I've been there. I've been there probably times 100, right? Because I'm never going to ask somebody else to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And so there's incredible power in having access to others that have been where you want to be, right? And then there's the association of everyone else in the group that is on this same path. It's this community, it's this tribe, whatever you want to call it, right? That's why I love team sports the most. I was just watching I'm a big Packer fan, grew up in Wisconsin, and Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show, and AJ Hawk's there, a former teammate, and they're talking about the 2010 team when they won. I was like, that wasn't really our most talented team, but we were such a tight-knit group. We spent a lot of time together, And it was the best team because of that, right? So the association of all these other people in the group that are on the same path, they want to create this mindset for themselves. The results they want might be a little bit different, but at the same time, they're not that different, right? Because we're all unique, but we're not that different, which is powerful to know too, because knowing that, hey, I'm really not much different than anyone else. I really actually, a lot of the things that I struggle with and go through, I'm starting to see because people in the group are having these same struggles. And so that's powerful to know that, oh, hey, that's just normal.
Yeah.
Like, and now I can get, now my mindset just clicked up a notch and I know like, hey, it's not just me. There's other people going through this. If they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Right. So the association, the accountability, right? It would be great if we could all get to this point where we could just be self-accountable to ourselves, right? And unless you're David Goggins, there's not many people like him out there. And, on the physical side, he doesn't ever talk about anything else going on in his life. And so who knows where he's at there, but it helps when you have accountability from others. Like if you make a commitment to somebody else now, you really like, are you going to go do it? You got to go do it because they're going to be like, hey, you said you're going to go do this thing. Where are you at? How are you going? Like, what's the progress? What are the results that you got with that? So there's accountability is so powerful as well. And then of course you get the resources that we have inside of Replace Your Mindset, the daily podcasts, the 21-day boot camp, again, some of you may have already gone through the 100-mile mindset interactive ebook. And so there's a ton of resources, a ton of continued training and support and coaching from myself, from Michael, from everyone else that's on the team involved. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, I've heard that you've ran 100 miles. How many times have you ran that?
Well, I've successfully done 100 miles twice.
Okay.
So
how many times have you attempted?
I attempted, technically I went for 200 and hurt my knee. So technically it's 5 different attempts. So 2 successful out of 5, 2 for 5. So not a great success rate, I guess, if you look at it like that. But
I mean, in baseball, if you hit 300, you're in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
So, and I think when you're trying to run 100 or 200 miles, that's kind of absurd. So that's how far did you get when you did the 200?
Yeah, I went for 200, and it was a 10-mile loop. So you'd have to do 20 laps, right? Oof. And it started rain, and it was kind of along a river bed and bottom valleys, and it was a lot of elevation up and down, and it started raining right when we started, and so it was all dirt, so it turned into mud. And so we were slipping and sliding all over the place, and it was nighttime, and I was on my 3rd loop, and I started to slide, tried to catch myself, and twisted my knee up. And so I had to finish the loop because it starts and stops in the same place, so no one was going to come and get me out of there. So I only got 30 miles on that attempt, unfortunately, because of an injury. So the others, that's the only one where an injury stopped me from going. The others were kind of one time, the very first time I went 63 miles, which was way further than I'd ever ran in my life. And I missed the time cut off by like 10 minutes. And so that was a great
So they weed you out as you go?
They do, yeah. They because, when you run 100 miles, typically you have 30 hours to finish.
Right.
And so, there's checkpoints you got to get to at a certain point. Otherwise, they pull you off the course just because, they can't have you out there all week trying to run 100 miles when, so from a safety standpoint that way, if you're going too slow, they're just like, hey, you're not going to finish in time. So there are cutoffs that you need to make. So the very first one really was our mistake. Which comes down to, again, in the book, the big lesson of details matter, and knowing what, paying attention to the little details that are very important in our lives.
Yeah. And
so I got pulled off the course, learned a lot, and also learned, which helped me in the second race, right? So, it's okay if you have setbacks in life, as long as you're able to learn from those lessons as you move forward to be successful, right? That's no one goes through life perfect. No one goes through life without failures. So we just look at them as learning points along the way to help us to continue to get a little bit better each time. If we continue to repeat the same mistakes over and over again, then obviously we're not learning anything, and that's really kind of shame on you, right?
Right.
So take accountability and responsibility for that. And so the second one, I made it like 76 miles, and I just got to the point where I was just like moving so slow. Even in my mind, I was trying to tell myself to move faster, but I just couldn't get myself to go. And I was like, man, so I was done at that point. And then you start to think like, oh, what am I, again, like that fear and anxiety starts to creep in, and like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this for? Like 76 miles is awesome. Like it's way more than almost anyone's, done in their life or ever will.
Yeah.
Like, and then, just, I was committed, right? I said I was going to run 100 miles. And so I took what I learned from that second experience, and on the third attempt, I was successful the first time. And then this summer, did it again up in Alaska, which was awesome.
Dude, that is awesome. So, I mean, how was that? Tell me, explain the feeling when you crossed the finish line for the first time. You completed that 100 miles. What'd you feel?
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a good friend that helped support me along the way, and he was also doing some video for me. And so he's videotaping me as I cross the line. You get a belt buckle, which is pretty cool. It was a good feeling, but it's never really as great as you would expect or think it to be, right? There's this guy, his name is Dean Carnazzi, and in the ultramarathon world, he's a big name. He's kind of like the godfather of ultramarathons. He really got in at an early point and has inspired a lot of other people to get involved. He did a 50 miles in 50 states through 50 days, right? So every day, different state. He ran a marathon every day for 50 days. And he gets to New York to the very last marathon, right? And he finishes, and his wife and his family are there, and they're getting ready. He lives in California. They're getting ready to hop on the plane to go home. And he says, hey, why don't you guys like go without me? I'm going to run home. So he's been running for 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 states. And, it was kind of empty, right? And he wasn't fulfilled. And so, I had him on the podcast. He talked about that. He's like, when you get to the end, you just keep going, right? That's what life's all about. It's about the journey. It's about what you learn along the way. It's the experiences that you have. That mindset that you can. There's not an end point, right? There's not a destination when it comes to our mindset. Like you either continue to build it or you can lose it, right? You see it in baseball, right? Where people get the yips where they can't throw it from second base to first base. They're professional baseball players that have never had this problem. And then something happens, right? And it has nothing to do with physical.
No.
It's all mindset.
Enter sports psychologists.
Yeah,
that I talked about.
Exactly. Yeah. And, careers have been ruined by that.
Yeah.
Like you can't throw it back to the pitcher as a catcher. Pitchers can't, all of a sudden can't hit the strike zone, right? And then, it's all mental.
Yeah, I would agree. And, I think when we talk about mindset, we had a guy in the office a few months ago, and we were talking about this idea. And he's a big name, in the marketing world and sales world. And he said, what's funny about mindset, or the idea of replace your mindset, is it's kind of a catch-22 when you're doing this, because the people that are seeking you out to replace their mindset, they probably already are on the right track as far as their mindset goes.
Yeah.
And the people that are listening to this podcast right now, or going through your 100-mile mindset, interactive ebook on our channel, on our site, that are saying, no, I don't need this.
Yeah.
It's probably the people that need it the most, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like this back and forth that we have to deal with of like, wow, yes, I'm in the right mindset if I want to get better as far as the mindset goes. But like you said, it's not a destination. It doesn't mean that we can't start growing more and more into that.
Yeah.
But the bigger concern for me is the people that are like, nah, I've learned everything I need. I'm good to go. And for those, woe to those, right? Because holy cow, there's so much that you have to offer, that the course has to offer. one of the things that we have in the course is there's 100 days of podcasts, and it's kind of just motivation. It's like great to like wake up and in the morning, you just get that almost like it's like fueling, right, for your mind, and you get that, and then the 21-day boot camp, which of course gives each of the clients a task per day that build on top of each other, and just creating healthy habits. And I think that those things are going to be so helpful in addition to the live events and all that stuff. So I'm really excited about what we're about to offer and what we are offering. So I think it's going to be great. And as what is day one? Let me ask you that. I don't know. I really don't know what day one is. What is day one task
of the boot camp?
Yep.
I believe it's been a while since I put it together, but I believe it's to make your bed.
Boom. Okay, pause. The reason why I say that is because have you ever watched the graduation speech of the I think he is like an ex-Navy SEAL?
Admiral McCraven. He wrote a book about it, right?
He just said, just wake up and make your bed.
Yes.
If you don't accomplish anything else the rest of the day, make your bed. That's why I was curious to see what your day one was.
Yeah.
So you're legit. You're on the same page. That's awesome.
That's right.
So so all that to say, we're going to wrap this up just for sake of time, not getting too long-winded here, but we really wanted to introduce you to Nate and help you understand exactly who he is. And we're going to have more content that's going to be going over kind of more about Nate's background and things like that, and getting you guys as excited as we are to be working with Nate and to have him as our executive coach here at Replace Your Mindset. So if you guys have any questions, as always, please reach out. You can reach out and schedule a call with us. You can also chat with us on our website, and we will make sure to get your questions answered. In the meantime, though, make sure you subscribe. Click the link below to subscribe, as well as comment with any questions on this video and like the video, please, so we can reach more people with our message and our mission. So everybody, take care. God bless.